Okay, Billy, thanks for taking the time to sit down with me.
Yes.
It's really a pleasure.
It's my pleasure.
Awesome. So, what brings you to the U.S.-China Summit today?
I think sometime early this year, Stephanie came with Li Gao to Beijing to meet me, and they have tell me about what they have done last year, and I thought was very interesting. And then later on, Li Gao come to work in my company as an intern, and then we also talk a lot about. I was trying to explain to Stephanie how the Chinese music industry works these days, and I think because it's a first time for Stephanie to go to Beijing, and I think she has kind of a culture shock. Yeah. So a lot of things. I believe that a lot of Westerners, be it American or UK or any Europeans, they always have the stereotype of the impression of China. But China is moving very fast, and it's changing a lot since the day maybe I was there like 10 years ago until now. I kind of witnessed the change of China. So I think as a person who was born first in Singapore and then who has also lived in America and also lived in Taiwan and other part of the world, I find China mainland is a very, very interesting place for music industry right now.
So, can you give us an understanding of what that looks like right now? I mean, what your take is anyway?
I think on one hand, because we must understand that China has gone through some kind of economic reform for the past 40 years, and they somewhat going through a similar path like what American did in the 1930s. Okay, when China first started the economic reform way back in 40 years ago, I think they have a lot of crucial issue that have to taken care of. First of all, is how to feed the people, so many people, and then they have to find jobs for the people. So this is why for that period of time, I think China economy is very much dependent on leverage on the low wages of the people, leverage on the low cost of the land or the factory, so that they can make cheaper goods that export to the West. That's why I mean, in the West, we have enjoyed of buying branded goods at a much lower price for the last couple of years.
Sure.
So this is a result of China economic reform. But then comes, I think there was a economic crisis in somewhere at the end of the 90s, and then there's also economic downturn in about 2008. Then China has to start reforming their economy, and then they start to move the economy from depending on the export into the internal market. So this is why they build the infrastructure. They start to build a lot of infrastructures within the nation from 2008 onwards. So from 2008 to 2014, there's this one phase whereby a lot of the infrastructure has been built. So the China has to start to rethinking what is next for the economy. So a lot of Westerners doesn't understand that why there's a piracy issue, why there's no copyright protection in China. I think that the reason is very simple, because at that stage of time, the fundamental of the economy is to feed the people, okay? And they need the technology, they need the people to attain certain technology at the lowest cost. So this is why at that point of time, I think piracy is to the benefits of the national economy of China at that time. But as I said, when it reached the point of time 2014, after everything is built, slowly China economy developed, and the wages of the people get more and more. So low wages and low cost of factory and land is never an advantage anymore, because you pay a high price for that. The problem of pollutions, a lot of social issues. So this is why China government has to rethinking of what's the next phase of economy, and they realize that in order for the China economy to continue to be sustainable, they have to move into IP, intellectual properties. So this is why I think from 2015 onwards, China has been very serious about intellectual properties, and they really crashed down a lot on illegal website on music. So there was an action in 2015 that they take all the illegal website down. So now today in China, it's like if you find out any illegal song on website, you can easily you can there's a method to let that song get off the website within 24 hours. Yeah, I don't think YouTube is able to do that
Yeah.
yet. Okay,
Yeah.
so in terms of copyright protection, even some of the for instance like the video website, you can download some video if you are a subscriber, but you can only play that video on a certain platform. They had a special format for that, encoded. It's not like website, it's not like YouTube where they claim that you cannot download, but actually a lot of people can download the videos from YouTube. So you'll be amazed that the protection on China copyrights online is actually very advanced these days.
So in light of that, how is that impacting the type of music that's coming out of China?
Well, I think because of the copyrights protection, so slowly, the last 3 years we see that there's a lot of income for the music company. So this is the period of time whereby people start to think, what's next? What shall we do next? Because a lot of time when they first started to acquire the copyrights, the platform like Tencent or NetEase or Alibaba, they pay a lot of money to the majors to acquire the copyrights of the existing work.
Yeah.
But if you think deeply again, that's not the major market for the consumer. Because most of the consumer are teenagers, they want to listen to new songs. So the question is, how do we produce a new hit in the next few years in China? That's the question.
Okay. Can you answer the question?
Okay.
You knew what I was gonna do.
Well, I think the fundamental of music industry is very simple. It's just one sentence. You need it's a hit driven industry. Every artist need a hit song, and those artists who already had hit song need more hit song. Full stop. So I think music industry is all about hits. So a lot of times I think, but the question is how to write the hits, how to make a hit. It's not just writing. How to promote the hit, how to market the hit, how to position the artist. I think this is something that C-pop in general in mainland China has to explore in the next few years.
So on that point, one of the things I think you're seeing more in the U.S. too is obviously it's still hits driven.
Yes.
So I think that's a very good point.
Yes.
But I think the definition of what a hit is changing, in part because you have artists that are starting to maybe put a lot more of the issues in their background into the music that they're creating, and actually creating hits in very alternative ways. Like it's not the same four chords. It's not the same.
Yes.
What pop is today even isn't what pop was, not so long ago. So what do you think? How do you think the Chinese market can sort of take in this new way of thinking of the people in China, and also creating music within China, and take that into making the future of what the industry will look like in China?
Yeah, I think to begin to answer your question, we have to look at one point first.
Sure.
I think a lot of time when we go to Spotify, we go to Apple Music, they like to divide music into different genre. Okay, like this is pop, this is indie, this is alternative, whatever. But remember, pop is never a genre. Pop is not a genre. Okay, popular music is defined as the music is being appreciated by masses. Okay, within a period of time.
Sure.
So pop music doesn't have a form. Anything can be pop. Remember, when we talk about pop, we talk about Michael Jackson, we talk about Beatles, we talk about even Elvis Presley, but they were not the mainstream before them. Okay, they created the mainstream. So remember this. I think a hit is always defined as a song that is appreciated by mass.
Right.
Okay, but how to create the mass? Sometimes a lot of people, certain schools teach you that there's a formula, but I don't think that's true. Formulas are meant for broken.
Right.
Okay, basically, the great song in the history of pop music only does two things. One is to write something that everybody agree. Number two, to change the world. Okay, and you notice that those really big legends that driven the history of rock and roll are all those who revolutionized the existing pop, like Michael Jackson. Okay, even Elvis Presley, even Beatles, even Bee Gees, they all kind of revolutionized whatever was before.
Mm-hmm.
So this is why I think the media of in contact with music has changed. Like people used to buy CD, used to buy cassette, but now they just listen to streaming. The way to get in touch with music may have changed.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them got it from YouTube, like Charlie put, but ultimately, it's the song itself. It boils down to the works. You must have a hit song.
So exactly.
Yeah. No matter your style is Ed Sheeran or Charlie Puth or Adele or Taylor Swift, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always good to start with something that you are familiar with, and then I think in the West, the way I see, songwriting has been a lot of change since the days in the 70s, like Simon
Garfunkel,
Simon Garfunkel, because at that time a lot of songs are written in a raw way. People write a song like more a melody orientated, but these days because of technology, songs are very production orientated.
Right.
So that's why you have a lot of co-writings. That's why like people like Max Martin, one of the greatest songwriters of current now,
Mm-hmm.
the reason why he is able to write songs for so many years is because he co-write.
Yeah.
When you co-write, you kind of draw synergy from different people, and you grow, and you kind of ev- it's a form of evolution, I think.
Yeah. So we've been talking about that a bunch today, actually.
Yes.
How the change in production of music has
Yes.
actually been sort of what the driving force behind the music industry
Yes.
today. But I'd actually like to look at the other aspect of that, which
Mhm.
is more the lyrically driven side of music.
Mhm.
Because I think actually, and this is sort of something that we're looking at within SOS in general too, is like what role maybe lyrics, but it doesn't have to be the lyrics, more like the issues or the context of the time that's
Yep.
behind a music, how that can actually help drive a successful piece of music, not only in terms of reach, in terms of success in selling it, but also in terms of changing minds and hearts.
Yes. Yes.
Do you think that's a theory that's backed by the evidence? And if so, or even if not, what do you think is the trajectory of music in China, in light of with the different ways of creating music?
I think right now China is very open because of the internet. You see, they are very open. Like for example, we monitor the charts every year.
Yeah.
And we don't especially monitor just the Western work. We monitor the works like across the board.
Yeah.
Like one of there's a few Western works which become the top 20 of the overall Chinese work. For instance, Ed Sheeran's Shape of You.
Yeah.
For instance, Charlie Puth's has a song, We Don't Talk Anymore.
Oh yeah,
It's a big hit.
Yeah.
Even Taylor Swift has a big hit too. So I think Chinese audience, they are open. They are very open minded. Sometimes when I go to meet them and some of the songwriters, new songwriters, they show me a song. Then I say, oh, this song is not going to work in Asia. And they tell, oh, maybe this song doesn't work for Asian, but maybe it will work for the West. But it's not true, because even the song has never been a hit in the West. If you have a song become a hit, and I think humans are similar, okay, and I think the beauty about music, about songs, is that music has a life on itself, the melody, okay, irregardless of the lyric.
Right.
Sometimes you don't really like a lot of people love Ed Sheeran's song Shape of You in China, but I don't think everybody understand what the lyrics talking about.
Certainly, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Even K-pop, I think a lot of people doesn't understand what K-pop is talking about, but it's a melody that driven the emotion that unite the mankind.
So, what do you think then is going to be the driving force of the future of music in China? Is it going to be creating music that's inspired by Western music? Is it going to be a separated force to Western music?
No, I think if you have chance to come, it's because it's very hard to explain to you. But if you go through if you have time, you go through the hit song, the top 20 for the last 3 years, you realize that they are very diversified.
Yes,
they are very diversified. Some of the songs is very Western. Some of the songs, they have a very unique Chinese culture. And because we all live in a world that is in the internet era.
Yeah.
You see, there's always this academic argument about what kind of song an American should write to represent American, or what kind of song you should write to represent Chinese.
Yeah.
I think it's bullshit.
Ah, yeah,
I think
okay.
it's bullshit.
Okay.
Because if we live in the 16th centuries where the world doesn't connect, then you have some kind of, because like for instance, people always think erhu is Chinese, but erhu is never a Chinese instrument before. It was from a hu, because when you say erhu, hu means foreign tribes.
Yeah.
It was actually from another foreign tribe going to the Han culture and become part of the Han culture. Okay.
Wow.
Likewise, a lot of people think that pentatonic or Chinese music is about pentatonic. Pentatonic is never a Han culture. It's a Mongolian culture. Okay, but Chinese took, because history developed. It's just like American music. When we talk about American music, we talk about R&B. We talk about hip hop. We talk about whatever. But Americans is a mixture of European and African music. That's why it infused after 30 years. It developed to be American music. When you know, when Woody Guthrie said folk music, but that wasn't folk music. This is a folk revival of what the European folk is. And then it develops into a kind of folk song. It become Bob Dylan's in the 70s. So music evolved. So likewise, because we are living in China, in the current China, it's not the ancient China. The current China is open society with a lot of internet. So the kids get exposed to all kinds of things. So it's only natural that when the Chinese teenagers come up with a creation, it has a little bit of everything. I think it's natural.
Yeah, and I think that's a really interesting point, and actually a really interesting and unique thing that music can do is expose you to different cultures in a unique way. But I want to go back to the point that you had. So you say that it's bullshit, that cultures are essentially they're separated cultures. There's a specific, like, basically this is what an American hit is and this is what a Chinese hit, which I think has merit. But at the same time, you also were saying that there's a unique identity to the music that you see at the top of the Chinese charts that reflects, in theory anyway, right, a Chinese personality or what makes Chinese music China. What do you think? Can you tell me what you think that is?
Okay,
what it makes.
I'll give you a very good example. For example, in China, you can have pizza, you can have steak, you can have Chinese noodle, you can have Chinese hot pot. It's all available.
Yeah.
But the steak in China is never the same as the steak in Boston.
Sure.
Although they looks like the same.
Yep.
Likewise, in Boston, you have the Chinese restaurant and Japanese restaurant, but they will never taste the same as Chinese.
Yes.
And this is exactly what I mean. Because you see, if you're born in Boston, you're exposed to different varied of culture. Sometimes the Asian look at the Westerners, oh, you're all white. But as a Westerner, you'll be able to tell, oh, this is Spanish, this is French, this is Italian, this is British. Likewise for Asian.
Yes.
For the Westerner to look at Asian, oh, Asian looks all the same with these eyes. But we will be able to tell this is Japanese, this is Korean, this is Vietnamese, this is Chinese. And even within China, we would be able to tell, oh, this is from Dongbei, this is from Henan, this is from Sichuan. We could be able to tell. So it depends on how diversified or how detailed you want to classify. And I think the kind of classification is more for academic. It's not for the true market. The true market is a good song is a good song. Full stop.
Sure, but do you think that there are differences in the different regions then, with in terms of what music is coming out within China? Let's just see.
Yes.
Okay.
It's just like American. Like you see, when we talk outside American, people always think that American music represent the mainstream, but it's not.
Right.
You have a lot of different kind of music in American.
Certainly. But I also think that music is often indicative of the different cultures, right?
Yes.
So like you have in the South, you have more country music, say, than you would have in the North.
Yes.
And other identities that way. So
likewise, the similar thing in Beijing too.
Okay. And so how do you see that then as being reflective of what the population is like? So like, do you actually see that I guess what I'm trying to say is how does the culture and the different aspects of culture translate into the music that's being created? Because clearly it must have an impact on it.
I know where you're coming from. I think for China market it'll be interesting because it's kind of like anything works, but as long as you're a really good song. So but I think at the same time it's also challenging because instead of writing the same pattern again over and over again, China is always hungry for something new.
Right.
Yeah. So this is the part I think that's really interesting, and in the last 10 years, because of the how badly the industry has been destroyed by piracy and MP3. So this is a time that finally there is some return from the copyrights for China at the same time, but there's a lacking. There's a kind of like a break of the industry, because a lot of people, a lot of youngsters who are interested in doing music, but they don't know how to do A&R. I think A&R is very lacking in China.
Okay.
And a lot of people who are good at A&R, they're so old that they cannot get intact with the current marketing tool and technology. So this has been a problem in China. So I think for Berkelee College, if they learn enough technologies and about how to make a hit, it's very useful if they go back to China and to explore the market there.
Billy, thank you so much for taking the time to be here. This
You're
was a
welcome.
lot of fun to hear your perspective on the Chinese market and also how music and culture are connected. So
Sure.
thank you so
Thank
very
you.
much, and safe travels back to
You too.
China.
You too. Bye.